India is watching patiently as Pakistan is crumbling into pieces. After Balochistan declared independence, now global Kashmiri protests on POK have spread to Norway after Switzerland, United States of America and the United Kingdom, putting Shehbaz Sharif and the failed Marshal under pressure. Pakistan's next war will not be fought on its border with India, but with its various provinces. Opposition leader Fazlur Rehman has warned that Munir is pushing Pakistan towards yet another breakup. Rehman stated, Pashtuns, Baloch, POK Kashmiris are wanting to secede. Are you trying to break the country? Don't put Pakistan through another 1971. He was referring to when 93,000 Pakistani soldiers had to surrender in defeat against the Indian Army in the 1971 war. Fazlur Rehman gave a reality check, saying Munir must stop dreaming of competing with India. He added, "We talk about a war and confrontation with India, but let's reflect on the reality. We must consider where Pakistan stands globally in terms of judiciary, economy, and law and order." Rehman's words are a stark reminder that Asim Munir's fantasies of being the ruler of Pakistan will end up breaking the country again. He added, "Today, when the country is engulfed in fire and hunger, discussions about dividing provinces are being raised at such a delicate time." After declaring independence, armed rebels of Balochistan are attacking Pakistani military forces and their positions after Baloch leaders claim that dozens of women and children lost their lives in Pakistani military airstrikes. In Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, JAAC group has announced a series of protests against POK. In POK or Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, the JAAC group has announced a series of protests against Pakistani authorities, highlighting the jarring humanitarian situation as well as lack of basic amenities for the local people. The fire from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir has spread across the world. In Norway's Oslo, members of the Kashmiri diaspora gathered outside the Norwegian parliament this week, raising slogans against Pakistani military forces. Protesters carried placards, raising slogans and demanding an immediate end to what they describe as a genocide of Kashmiris by Pakistani forces. Reports state that both the local and overseas protesters are now demanding the full implementation of the October 2025 agreement that Pakistani authorities had agreed on with the JAAC. Earlier this week, Kashmiri diaspora groups staged a similar demonstration at the Times Square in New York, calling for an international intervention over the worsening humanitarian situation in POK. Protesters were seen carrying placards that read, "For every life lost, we demand justice. Stop killing Kashmiris. And our right, our voice, our future." In the United Kingdom, Kashmiri communities have also held protests in major cities including London and Birmingham, demanding that the British government and the United Nations take action against Pakistan for the human rights violations in POK. This comes after the Indian government, led by Prime Minister Modi, demanded that global bodies like United Nations must hold Pakistan accountable for its brutal human rights abuses in POK.
We expect and hope that the international community will hold Pakistan.
According to reports, more than 100 civilians have lost their lives due to brutal crackdown by Pakistani military in Kashmir or POK. Not just that, Pakistan's defense minister says those protesting for their rights are enemies of Pakistan, just like India.
पाकिस्तान के साथ जो है ना इन लोगों को ब्रैकेट करता हूँ उसी जुमरे में इस्तेमाल.
Our news report on India-Pakistan tensions was ranking among the top 5 in Google News videos. I am Shobit Mittal. Do subscribe to Inconnect News for the most informative news content. Pakistani politician and cleric Fazlur Rehman has openly warned the Pakistani leadership that their atrocities and their inability to control the violence in POK and Balochistan will lead to Pakistan's demise. He also warned that bloodshed could worsen in Balochistan and that decades of atrocities carried out by Pakistani military could change the geography of Pakistan. In other words, Balochistan is gone, POK could be next. He also supported the Kashmiris of POK in their right and fight for greater rights. Fazlur Rehman added, There is a war going on in Kashmir. People have been sitting in Rawalkot for 3 months, but no one is ready to talk to them. Just days after a Pakistani army personnel opened fire in Sarhad University in Islamabad amid student protests, another incident has now been reported at the Wagah border. Reports state that Pakistani soldiers and Pakistani youth came into conflict at the ceremonial area of the Wagah border. Meanwhile, Balochistan continues to experience an escalation of violence by Pakistani military. According to this report, 5 more bodies were recovered from Mastung, Chaman and Shohbatpur regions of Balochistan. It appears that some of these civilians were shot. This after 5 more bodies were brought to a hospital in Panjgur. Later, it was confirmed that the bodies were of some of the people who earlier went missing amid Pakistani military operations in the same area. There are more reports of unidentified bodies being found across multiple districts of Balochistan. Baloch people are appealing for human rights organizations to look into forced disappearances and abductions by Pakistani forces. In retaliation to this violence, the Balochistan Liberation Army has launched its own counterattack in Karan region, targeting Pakistani military positions. Their aim is to drive the Pakistani military completely out of Balochistan. The armed rebels then set fire to mobile vans. They attacked the police checkpost and communications tower near Sarao Chowk. Several people have lost their lives, while some may have been taken hostage. The exact number and details are difficult to verify or confirm from independent sources. The Balochistan Liberation Army, however, is reported to have cut off the Quetta to Karachi highway completely. Now, this is a key route linking Balochistan to Karachi in Sindh. Bridges have been damaged or destroyed, highways are totally blocked, and transport routes have been disrupted. Users on platform X say Balochistan women protesting for their missing loved ones deserve safety, dignity, and the right to speak out and not be intimidated or allegedly abused by Pakistani security forces. Reports say that Commander Miral Baloch and several other rebels have also lost their lives in ongoing operations by Pakistani forces in Karan region. Meanwhile, the situation in POK also continues to escalate. The Kashmiri civil group JAAC shared the visuals of demonstrations in Norway. JAAC stated, vigorous protest demonstration outside the Norwegian parliament against the genocide of Kashmiris by Pakistani forces. Overseas Kashmiris demand immediate implementation of the October 4th, 2025 agreement made with the Jammu and Kashmir Joint Awami Action Committee by withdrawing the killer terror forces. If the rulers continue fascism, we will be forced to expand the scope of the protests. The JAAC has been leading demonstrations since mid-2025 over rising electricity costs, food prices, and lack of political autonomy. They demand greater freedom. Protesters say Pakistani government has failed to implement the key parts of their deal. JAAC has now demanded the immediate withdrawal and total withdrawal of Pakistani military forces from all civilian areas of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. At least 70 British parliamentarians have also written to the United Nations General Secretary Antonio Guterres about the deteriorating situation in POK, and here's what they wrote in that letter. Over recent months, reports of deaths and injuries, restrictions on communications, arbitrary arrests, disruption to essential supplies, and limitations on peaceful civic and political expression have caused considerable concern. We have also continued to hear from British Kashmiris who remain deeply anxious about the safety and well-being of relatives and loved ones in the region. POK protests have spread to the United Nations. Hundreds of people are seen with flags and banners calling out the Pakistani government over violence, blackout and repression. Visuals show protests intensifying in POK. Others show people running for cover as Pakistani forces open fire. Reports like these state that Pakistani military is trying to forcefully enter regions of Plandari from Kotli while also opening fire on civilians and unarmed protesters. These visuals on X shows the ground reality of POK. A young student from Rawalkot is seen appealing to the overseas Kashmiri community for help. New Delhi maintains that the entire region of POK or Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, including Gilgit, legally belongs to India. The government of Jammu and Kashmir legally signed the Instrument of Accession to join India during partition in 1947 and rejected Pakistan.
अगर पाकिस्तान से बात होगी तो टेररिज्म पर ही होगी.
In fact, even the name Kashmir is based on ancient Indian Hindu sage Maharishi Kashyap. But what do you believe? POK or Balochistan? Which region will break away next? Leave a comment, hit the like button and subscribe to Inconnect News.